Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Mike Chua, physical therapist, certified dementia practitioner, and your alternative career coach. Welcome to our career healthcare podcast and show, where we talk about different ways to find your alternative career and achieve both work and financial freedom. So visit our website, drmikechua.com or alternativehealthcarecareers.com for more information. Again, thank you for watching and listening. Welcome to our show. Be awesome, be great, be excellent, ACG. Have a great day and enjoy the show. Bye-bye. All right. So again, thank you very much for watching our webinar for today. We've got a very special guest for today. We are streaming live now also in our Facebook page. Let me just mute that a little bit. Well, first of all, thank you very much for watching and listening to our webinar today. And thank you very much, Emmanuel, for coming over, for doing this for us. But before I pass the microphone to Emmanuel, I would just like to introduce him. So, well, where did that go? Where is that thing? I was supposed to introduce him really good.
Nah.
Hold on. He got lost in translation, man.
Right. I'm just a regular guy. That's it.
No. All right, I want to introduce you. Emmanuel is a physical therapist for 20 years, which he is based in New York. He has a doctorate degree from Boston University and, of course, from De La Salle Health Sciences in the Philippines, BSPT, go BSPT in the Philippines. And he's actually a member of the New York City Medical Reserve Corps. And, of course, accredited clinical instructor by APTA. And currently, he is a sole proprietor and, of course, per diem physical therapist in various nursing homes in New York City and Westchester, and also in his outpatient clinic in Brooklyn, New York. And he's been posting a lot in our private group in American Filipino Academy of
Filipino American Physical Therapist.
About how to apply for unemployment, that it's this and that. And I said, well, let's go ahead and do a webinar, man, and answer all these questions that our friends and family and coworkers are asking. So here he is. He created this PowerPoint and throw all these questions away to him. And if you're watching live again, please comment live in our Facebook page, or if you are watching on the replay, please comment replay. And if you are in the webinar, if you received the German email
language
regard that, it's just weird. I don't know what happened. That's the reason why we're doing it as a webinar now, because if we use the meeting link, and we've got all the Zoom bombers now, that's actually bombing all the webinars now. So if you are watching, comment, there you go. Comment where you are from, your discipline, and your situation, and of course, what city and state you are. And that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. All right, Emmanuel, go ahead and take the microphone.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. My name is Emmanuel. Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for participating. So, basically, I've been doing a lot of these posts in the Facebook, group, the Academy of Filipino American Physical Therapists. So, and pretty much, I'm kind of surprised. A lot of people are asking about these things. So, me and Mike, we kind of out of the blue said, hey, why don't we do a webinar? So we're doing this now. This is the reason why. All right. So just to start off, okay, so this is pretty much, how to file for unemployment benefits. As a therapist, whether you're a physical therapist, occupational therapist, or, speech therapist under the CARES Act. So before we start, I just want you to, read this, little disclaimer. All right. So I'm going to read out to you. The purpose of this webinar is to pretty much give a generalized understanding of the unemployment income application process, including the new benefits under the CARES Act. So, of course, you, the participants, you have the decision to apply for unemployment benefits, including the pandemic unemployment income and pandemic unemployment assistance, which is through your own volition and understanding, pretty much dependent on what your individual circumstance, is. This webinar, the presenter does not encourage participants to apply for unemployment benefits, especially if the participants knowingly understand that they are not eligible for such benefits. So, I just have to clear this out. And
that's what I was telling you earlier.
Yeah, and if participants determine that they are eligible for unemployment benefits and apply on their own or with representation, meaning, you ask someone for help to fill it up or whatever. Of course, you guys will indemnify me and Mike or this webinar for any loss or claim arising from such application, whether it is successful or not, including claims against the participant by respective states or the employers when applying for unemployment benefits. The reason why is because you certify. Whenever you make an application, whatever it is, you renew your license, for example, or you apply for unemployment benefits, you certify that whatever you are filling up there is the correct thing. It's the honest truth. So this is why we the only purpose we're doing this is because probably a lot of us, are, this is the first time we're even considering filing for unemployment benefits because of what's going on with the coronavirus and all that stuff. Okay, so I hope we're clear on that. So we're going to start off. Okay. So the CARES Act. So this is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. So this pretty much was signed, into law on the 27th of March. And basically what it does, it's actually $2.2 trillion in economic relief to protect, pretty much everyone here in the U.S. from the public health and economic impacts of COVID-19. Okay, so pretty much under this act, it significantly expands unemployment benefits. So what is it? Pretty much, I'm pretty much going to give you a brief description of, the regular unemployment income. So pretty much unemployment income, this is temporary income. And it is for, remember, eligible workers who lose their jobs through no fault of their own, meaning, they didn't resign or they didn't get terminated, something like that. And the other thing is you have to be able and available to work. So this is for regular unemployment, when you're trying to apply for unemployment income and everything for your respective states. Now, to qualify, these are the things that you have to pretty much have. So you have to have worked and earned enough wages in a covered employment. So pretty much just to make it simple, you have to be an employee, with a W-2 tax status, you're getting paid, and then your employer pretty much pays for your taxes whatsoever. And
I have a quick question there, Emmanuel.
It's usually the employers who pay the contributions that fund the unemployment insurance. So you have to understand, whoever is paying for this, it's under an insurance fund, which the employers pay. So, keeps the money going.
I have a quick question, Emmanuel.
Deducted from employees. So no, employees never get to pay, or they're nothing is being deducted from their paychecks. So we are.
You hear me, Emmanuel?
Yeah. What's up?
With regards to that, for example,
Yeah,
sure. You're a PRN.
Yeah.
You're not a full-timer, you just as needed basis. Are you
Yes.
still able to apply for that?
We will go through that.
Okay.
Those things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Under the CARES Act, just to answer your question, the answer is yes. Yes.
You heard that, huh? You heard that, ladies and gentlemen.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
So, but let me, for before we open the floodgates of, because this is going to be crazy. I'm telling you right now.
I know, right?
I just want to, give you a little summary of what's going on. So, some of these, once we go through with this, it's going to pretty much answer probably a third of your questions right now.
Cool.
Just to pretty much, get things in perspective. Now,
I'll stop talking.
Yeah, that's right. So now continuing on. So basically, as far as you remember, all the employers are the ones who pay for the contributions for the unemployment insurance that funds, unemployment income. It is, however, your state's Department of Labor, which decides what pretty much if you qualify for benefits or not. All right. Now, in general, as far as unemployment income is concerned, it provides a fixed weekly income of up to 26 weeks and can pretty much be extended up to 13 weeks. Now, it depends and it varies on every state. So like here in New York State, we do have 26 weeks of unemployment income, which can be extended up to 13 weeks. But for example, for states like in Florida, you pretty much have a limited number of weeks. Like I think it's 12 weeks. If there's someone from Florida, you can correct me. But of course, there's a lot of states, and it's impossible for me to know all of these things. But it really depends on what state you live in and what your state pretty much gives as far as the number of weeks are concerned. Okay, so moving on. Now, the CARES Act, the one that was enacted in March. So pretty much it's enacted on March 27th. The problem is the logistics, the funding, and all these things. It only actually started to trickle down like mid-April. So we're now at April 18th. So it's actually just starting to funnel in. And you pretty much will be benefiting from, these added benefits as far as the unemployment insurance or income is concerned. So there are two parts of this, okay? One is the pandemic unemployment income. And the second one is the pandemic unemployment assistance. So there are two differences. So I'm gonna pretty much describe them to you as a summary. Okay. So with the pandemic unemployment income, so if you remember from prior, like the ones that we're discussing with the regular unemployment income when you're trying to apply, let's say if you get laid off or those kind of stuff. So all the rules pretty much apply to this program, the pandemic unemployment income. Now, what is the difference though? Okay, so, of course, number one, it follows the individual state's unemployment rules and regulations, eligibility and benefits. So pretty much what we have there. So remember the basic eligibility for filing for unemployment is number one, you have to have worked a certain number of hours. You have to be willing and able to work, that kind of stuff. Let's say you're sick or you're disabled. Technically, you can't file for unemployment income because you have to be willing and able to work. Okay, so this is with the same follows with unemployment income, pandemic unemployment income. The next difference with the regular unemployment income is it provides a benefit of $600 each week in addition to the state weekly benefit. So what is the state weekly benefit? So for every state that we have here, whether it's Wisconsin or Florida or California, each state has their own, weekly benefit, okay? So if you apply, you will be getting two benefits. One is from the state and one is the extra $600. So the $600, you just have to remember, it is regardless of what income you have. Let's say, let me point it out. Like, let's say if you're, let's say here in New York, the maximum is $504. But you got to make sure before you get that $504 a week, you have to have earned that income each week for you to get it. So let's say, for example, if you're only earning $250 a week, then you're not going to get the $504. You're only going to get the $250. But because of this pandemic federal benefit, even if you just earn $250 a week, they will add that $600 each week regardless. So this is actually a benefit to a lot of people, not just, with the therapists in general, but with everyone, because it's literally the government paying you to pretty much stay at home and, cover you for a lot of things because they're covering, it's possible they're covering you way more from what you were earning before you, either you got laid off or something like that. Of course, I know with therapists, you're earning more than that. So, but you have to stick with the state's, your individual state's maximum as far as that is concerned. The other difference basically is it also guarantees state unemployment weekly benefits to be at 26 weeks. and can be extended for another 13 weeks. So what does that mean? If your state, for example, in Florida, you only have like 12 weeks, or North Carolina, I think has, I'm not sure if it's 26 weeks or also 12 weeks. But given that you are now on the pandemic unemployment income, the government guarantees everyone who is under unemployment would be given 26 weeks and can be extended for another 13 weeks. So that's another advantage. And the last one is there are special rules for resignation. So remember before I said, if you resign from work, basically you're not covered from unemployment, But some states, they do allow that. But with this, it's pretty much covered, if these conditions are met. So meaning, let's say you were infected with the coronavirus, or let's say there are adverse changes in your terms and conditions of employment, just such as, for example, you've heard all these news, when, people are treating COVID patients without the proper PPEs. I mean, that is a significant change in pretty much what you agreed upon, right? So let's say, for example, they're forcing you to see someone without the proper gowns or whatever infection control equipment that you need. Those are technically changes in your agreed upon contract for employment. So these are the things that you have to you consider. Okay, so this is the pandemic unemployment income part. Okay, now we go to the pandemic unemployment assistance part. Okay, so this is the one that was kind of like very confusing for a lot of people, but let me kind of like summarize it down. So the pandemic unemployment assistance, this is the other program, just to summarize and make it, understandable and easy to understand as possible. These are for the people who otherwise cannot qualify for unemployment insurance, just to make it simple. So anyone who was rejected from applying for unemployment income, they will go through this, okay? But the primary thing that you have to have in order for you to qualify is you were affected by COVID, or you were affected as a result of, the pandemic. So this provides up to 39 weeks. So it's pretty much similar to unemployment assistance, but this one, it guarantees 39 weeks. So remember, for unemployment income, it's 26 weeks. And then you can extend it for another 13 weeks. So that's still 39 weeks. But in this case, unemployment assistance, it's up to 39 weeks. So if you're unable to work, you will be able to get this program. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, not eligible for regular unemployment benefits, including, believe it or not, let's say, for example, you were unemployed last year and then you exhausted all your benefits. You could technically apply for pandemic unemployment assistance because, it just so happens that, the outbreak or the pandemic happened and there's no way for you to work, so you can technically apply again under this program. Now, to answer Mike's question, this is the answer. Individuals covered are self-employed workers, those who are part-time, employees, individuals lacking sufficient work history, or other individuals who will otherwise not qualify for regular unemployment income or extended benefits. So
that answers
everyone. I'm telling you, it's practically everyone. As long as your state, your city, whatsoever, especially if there is a governor-sanctioned stay-at-home order. That's pretty much it. You're effective. You're affected, one way or another because
that's me there. I can't go to my clinic.
Yeah, I know. No, but you're considered essential. Here in New York, outpatient clinics are considered essential workers or essential business. So you can technically open if you want to.
So I guess that answers.
It's up to you.
That answers Joe. Joe, there's a question from Joe. How about self-employed? And that answers it.
That answers the question. Okay, so just let me go through with this. So as I mentioned before, it will pretty much answer most probably like a third of your questions. Okay. Cool. So the next thing is individuals who are otherwise able and available to work, except that they are unemployed, partially employed, or because of COVID-19 related reasons. So again, as long as it has something to do with the outbreak, you are covered by the pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay? So now with the pandemic unemployment assistance, it says COVID-19, right? So there are various scenarios where you could actually be qualified with. So number one, let's say if you have a member of your household who has been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you can't go to work because, you can't because, you're one of your household members is infected. Technically, if you presume that you're infected, you can't get out, right? One. Number two, you are providing for providing care for a family member or a member of your household, who's infected with the virus. If your child is unable to attend school, which is most of us right now, you are covered for that unemployment assistance. If you reach your place of employment or workplace because it's closed because of the quarantine or stay-at-home order, you are covered. Let's say, for example, you're a husband and wife, and then let's say your wife is the breadwinner. And unfortunately, again, this is just theoretical. Your wife dies from the virus, and then you become the breadwinner or you become the head of the household. You then can qualify for unemployment assistance. And for these people who have to quit, remember, you've heard some people they just can't take it. I'm quitting my job because, you fear for it. Or let's say you were diagnosed with the COVID-19. If you were to base this on regular unemployment, you could have been disqualified because you resigned. You weren't really laid off, Yep. But in this case, this act pretty much protects you from that. So for you to be covered with unemployment benefits, or for people who don't have any history of a job. Let's say, for example, you just graduated from school, and then you pretty much went for an interview, and you're about to start a job, and then this thing happens, everything shut down. You, believe it or not, even if you don't have any salary history whatsoever, you are covered. Because it's not your fault. You were supposed to start, but you can't because everything shut down, right?
Amazing. Thank you.
I'm telling you. So a lot of people don't know this, but that's the reason why we're all doing this. So
no wonder I reached out to you.
And the most important thing, if you have been diagnosed with or are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, and the most important thing, you're seeking a medical diagnosis. Because a lot of us right now, let's say we get sick, right? Of course, there's no testing. Good luck getting a test, right? So now we don't even know if let's say, for example, you have a cough, a sore throat, or you're having fever, all these things. You don't even know if you have COVID or not. So that if you're having these symptoms, you're pretty much technically under this, but you have to go to a doctor. Either your primary care doctor, your urgent care, or something. And then usually when you go, they see this, they give you, what preventive medicine, or they give you antivirals, whatever their decision is. But in those cases, usually when they put on, let's say the diagnosis or something, they usually say suspected of COVID-19 or whatever. That in itself, even if you did not get a test, a statement from your doctor or something which states that, you are pretty much covered from that. Okay, so these are very broad reasons that is COVID-19 related that covers, pretty much almost everyone.
So give me the application form now.
Wait, so here's the thing. Okay, so just to get you because there's a lot of things to do when you're applying for unemployment income, whether it's the unemployment income or the unemployment assistance. You got to do these computations, all these calculations, because that is pretty much, it'll give you a ballpark figure of what you're going to get, okay? So there are two ways. So because remember, unemployment income is weekly wages. So they give the income per week, not per month, not bi-weekly, not, every 15 days, like what other therapists usually get for the salary. This is always done by week. So you do it in two ways. So You get your annual income or your yearly income and divide it by 52. So that's your weekly income.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to be technical, if you file quarterly, for what is this? For S corps, for independent contractors, you file your quarterly income tax returns. You pretty much divide that by 13. Okay, it's very important because you pretty much have a ballpark figure of what you pretty much earn. The next one is what we call determining your base period. So what is a base period? Okay, so the base period is pretty much you count the last 5 quarters from this month. So today it's April, right? So the quarters are October, November, December. So pretty much these are the quarters. So that's Q4 of 2018, January, February, March, that's Q1 of 2019, so on and so forth, going to October, November, December, that's Q4 of 2019. And then, of course, if you see that blank thing, that's the 5th week. I mean, not the 5th week, the 5th quarter, I'm sorry. So what they determine now is the base period. They calculate the last 4 of that quarter. So if we're coming from April, May, and June, so April, then the weekly wages that they're going to be computing is Q1 of 2019, Q2 of 2019, Q3 of 2019, and Q4 of 2019. So you pretty much get that base period calculated. So, everyone with me so far? So, okay, now on some states, there's what you call an alternate base period, okay? Now, the alternate base period, you just, instead of counting 5, you just count the 4. So immediately, so since we are at April to June, so you just count the Q1 of 2020, the Q4 of 2019, Q3 of 2019, and Q2 of 2019. However, not all states apply the alternative base period. So there's only 12 states, and it's here, including New York, New Jersey, Ohio, North Carolina, Washington, Rhode Island, Michigan, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin. So only those states follow the alternative base period. Why is it that this is important? Because, going back to when you're applying for regular unemployment, remember, you have to have worked a certain number of a period of time and a certain amount of salary. So if you didn't have this alternative base period, you would have otherwise been disqualified. Let's say, for example, from basing it from the base period. So remember, you're using 5 quarters. So let's say, for example, you only work for 1 quarter or 2 quarters of that. And then it just so happens that you didn't qualify for the minimum, amount of work, either by time or by salary, then you could have been disqualified. But if you use an alternate base period, which is this one, it's just a straight out last 4 quarters, you would have otherwise qualified. So it's kind of technical, to be honest with you, but we'll leave it as such because this is pretty much how they compute. Every state is different. As I said, every state has a different weekly income that they give. They also have a different set of rules when calculating, this income. And it's impossible for me to discuss each and every state. So my suggestion is to log into your state's Department of Labor website to pretty much, clarify all these things that you have. After the question and answer, if I can, I can try to answer. But again, pretty much this is how the format it is to pretty much compute all these weekly benefits and depending on your income and all that stuff. Now, okay, so let me give you a sample. So let's say I'm basically here in New York. So in New York, it pretty much pays up to $504 a week, up to 26 weeks, and can be extended for another 13 weeks. So this is your program, okay, for us, as far as unemployment income is concerned, the regular unemployment income is concerned. Now, remember, if you're going to file for the pandemic unemployment income, it will follow pretty much these requirements rather for eligibility and for you to receive unemployment income. Now, Primary, again, this is only for New York. The primary eligibility requirements are your past earnings must meet certain minimum thresholds. This is what I'm saying about the base period, as well as the the minimum amount of pay. All right. Number 2, you must be unemployed through no fault of your own, as defined by New York state law. And number 3, you must be available to work. So remember, just because you're unemployed, that's why there's a work search requirement, like you have to report every week. But to be honest with you, I don't even know if they're doing that with all people filing for unemployment. There's no way for them to call. I mean, but these are the requirements for New York State.
That's my question there. I mean, how would they know if you're available to work?
Exactly. No, you either if you have your state, if you can apply online, there is an online work search record that you could pretty much put into. Again, you have to consult your individual labor department, state labor department for their requirements, but it's usually that you either have a work search record either online, or you could just put it on a piece of paper and just do whatever you want, pretty much.
Speaking of that, with that train of thought, I didn't want to disturb you, but I want to point that out. I was trying to hire a PTA the other day, and she said, I can't sign on with you, Michael. I said, why? What's wrong? I'm still drawing unemployment. I don't want that to lose because she's just PRN with me because I'm PR. I only hire 1099 PRN.
So staff. This is a public meeting right now, and I'm not a lawyer and everything, but based on what my understanding, technically it should be right. Actually, it's not a good thing. To be a good thing.
So she needs to.
If she can work and she's under unemployment, and then because remember, every week you certify that you are unable to work, and all of a sudden you have a situation where she can actually work, and she says that she can't work. If the government knows about that, there are severe penalties. I'm telling you right now.
Okay. So you must be really available.
Penalties including you could technically get the state could technically get whatever they gave you as far as benefits are concerned, and whatever penalties they can think of, to be honest with you. So you have to be, that's why in my disclaimer, you have to be honest. If you're eligible, fine, go file yourself the unemployment. But if you can find work, then get out of the unemployment. It's just simple as that. But the reason why they're putting this in is because a lot of people can't work. And this is the government's way of giving you some kind of income, to ride it out and pretty much go from there, So I'm telling you, like for the past 4 weeks, 21 million filed for, or 22 million filed for unemployment. It's unprecedented. Never in the history of the United States this happened, So the severity of the unemployment issue is really, highlighted with this. Okay, so going back, so we have the primary eligibility. We also have the past earnings eligibility. This is what I was talking about when it comes to the base period, computing the base period as well as your weekly income. So number 1, you must have earned wages in at least 2 of the 4 calendar quarters. So of the base period. Remember the 5 or the 4. The 5 is the base period. The 4 is the alternative base period. Imagine if you were cut off between those quarters. Let's say in the base period, based on the 5, you were only able to do 1. Or let's say, and then you go to the alternative base period, you were covered for 2. So those are the things that you kind of look at, But with us therapists, I'm sure you're able to qualify for the 2 of the 4 calendar quarters, because I'm sure you're making money with that, unless you took a vacation for 1 quarter and you're pretty much screwed, So, but I don't think so, because you still have the past 3 quarters. So don't quote me on that. And then the other thing is you must have earned at least $2,660 in the highest paid quarter of the base period. So that's another requirement. See? You can't just have a quarter where you don't have money or you didn't earn money. So you have to have a minimum amount of earnings, pretty much for you to qualify for unemployment income. And then your total earnings. So this is for the last 4 quarters, whether it's from the last 5, the base period, or the alternative base period. It should be 1.5 times your earnings in the highest paid quarter. So meaning, let's say, for example, you earned, let's say quarter 1, you earned $10,000. And then, so that qualifies you for at least $2,660, right? And then pretty much you earned another $20,000 on quarter 2. So that pretty much satisfies the third one, which is your total earnings. The base period should be 1.5 times your earnings in the highest paid quarter. Because if you add those up, 10 plus 20, without even considering the next 2 quarters, you pretty much have earned 1.5 times, pretty much the quarter that you've had, just to make it simple. I'm trying not to make it as technical as possible, but just for you to have an awareness of what the base period is, because when you decide to apply for unemployment, you will be encountering these things. So at least I'm giving you the heads up of pretty much what you're going to go through, and you have an understanding of what's going on. It's all about the weekly income, and it's all about the base period, and it's all about the quarterly income that you're going to be getting. Moving on. Okay, so this is the steps, just to summarize everything. First, you file during the last day of employment. So let's say, for example, what is it today? Friday, and then what is this? Yesterday was your last day of employment. Let's say your employer says, "Oh my God, we don't have enough patients. We really can't have you anymore." Okay, so if that happens, the next day, which is Friday, file right away, because technically, before, during the if you're filing for regular unemployment, you have to wait for a week. Now they're waiving that out, so you don't have to wait a week for you to file unemployment, because once that event happens, once that day happens, that you lose your job, you lose your work, you could file the next day for unemployment. So what is the reason why you have to apply? Because it's all about numbers. It's all about demand. Everyone is filing for unemployment. And if you get yourself one step ahead, then the faster you're going to be, getting that unemployment income, and that would help a lot, especially if, there's no money coming in, right? So the next step, you determine your base period and your weekly wage. So pretty much what we've been discussing from the prior 2 slides, determine your weekly wage, determine your base period, and pretty much you would get to know how much you're going to be making, subject to, whatever your individual state's maximum weekly income. Okay. And lastly, you file for either the pandemic unemployment income or the pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay, so I hope you guys got, were a little bit, you pretty much understood the difference between unemployment income and the pandemic unemployment assistance. So most, just to summarize, the pandemic unemployment income is just like filing for unemployment income, with all these eligibility requirements and everything. The pandemic unemployment assistance is if you get rejected from the filing of the unemployment income, this is where you're going to be eligible. But the main reason why you'll be accepted is you have been affected by COVID-19. All right. So I hope I'm not giving you guys any headaches, right? But unfortunately, this is what you have to go through if you decide to file for unemployment. All right, moving.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much for those. It's very informative, man.
I'm telling you, so you really don't, wait, you know what, Mike, I'm seeing 6 questions. I really can't see. I'm just seeing the numbers. We'll go through this. Trust me, we're going to go through this as much as we can, and we want to make sure whatever questions you have, hopefully I can answer. I mean, again, I'm not from the Department of Labor. I'm not a lawyer or whatever, but, I pretty much read up on these things. And whatever I can share, for you guys to make yourself understand it a little bit more, that's why we're doing this.
All right. Well, are we ready for those questions, Emmanuel?
Okay, so now, wait, just a minute, just to clarify these things, because
we're just excited, man.
You know what? We were budgeting 20 minutes. It took us 45 minutes already. This is ridiculous.
I know, right? But you're fine. I mean, if it's fine with you, I'm fine, man.
Yeah. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Okay, now what is the current application process? So as of this date, okay, so what are the things that's going on right now? Remember, the CARES Act was signed on March 27th, right? So now it's April 18th. So imagine the amount of money you have to put in, the days you have to put in. So it's still a work in progress, just to make it a little bit simple, for you guys out there. So what is the application process right now? For the pandemic unemployment income, all right, almost all the states, all 50 states, have included the $600 federal benefit on top of the weekly state unemployment income. Pretty much it started on the week of April 1, okay? For some states. Now it's April 18. I think it's almost every state where people have filed for unemployment income, they're already getting that $600 a week in federal benefits. Number two, you have to remember the $600 federal benefit, it will only last until July 31. You got to remember that, because let's say, for example, you file a month later or whatever, unfortunately, whatever weeks you missed, you will not get it back. They will not pay you retroactively. They will only pay you from the date of your application. Very important, okay? So that's why I'm telling you, if you think that you won't have work the next week, file the unemployment application right away. Because even if you get rejected or not, at least you have that on the system. And more than likely, if you get denied from the unemployment income application, more than likely you will be accepted with the pandemic unemployment assistance. All right. So there are two applications, unemployment income or unemployment assistance. So I'm gonna go through those later. And again, remember on states like, let's say, Florida, they only have 12 weeks. With the pandemic unemployment income, I pretty much stated this before, the federal government is guaranteeing all states will get 26 weeks of unemployment income and an additional benefit extension of 13 weeks. They did this during the 2008-2009 financial crisis. They actually extended it even more, like years. Actually, it's not even weeks. As far as that is concerned. So there's precedence rather on this thing. And then again, just like with every other thing, when you're applying for the pandemic unemployment income, it goes through the regular application process and with whatever state's Department of Labor guidelines. So you go through the same process. Now, what is with the pandemic unemployment assistance? All right. So because it's April 18, all right. Remember, you have to determine yourself if you are under unemployment income, pandemic unemployment income, or pandemic unemployment assistance, right? So let's say you're an independent contractor, more than likely you're not going to be under the pandemic unemployment income because you are a 1099 income, or you don't have an employer. The only exception to that is if you applied yourself and you paid for yourself unemployment insurance. That's the only difference, okay? So far now, running through April 18, from my knowledge, of course, it's only New York, Pennsylvania, and California that are ready to directly process a application. So what does that mean? So if you go into the Department of Labor website, they will already ask you, are you filing for pandemic unemployment income or are you filing for pandemic unemployment assistance? So there's already two links, like starting April 1, they didn't have any. It's all about unemployment income. That's it. So we go to number 2, which means most states that don't have this process yet, or they don't have this application yet, everyone is required to file a pandemic unemployment income first. And then, of course, you get denied, right? But then they will give you kind of like a link or give you a process or whatever. They will direct you to file and reapply for pandemic unemployment assistance. There's a lot of red tape, unfortunately, but from other states other than New York, Pennsylvania, and California, this is what's going on. So technically, you have to file for two. Unemployment income first, get the denial, and then apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance. Right?
I'm so used to getting denied now.
I know. You know what? I don't know if you guys were following from Facebook. So we were applying for the Paycheck Protection Program. Guess what? I never got anything from the bank. To be honest with you.
Me too.
What can I say, right?
Uh-huh.
But some people are lucky, some people are don't.
That's right.
Last slide. Individuals who are not eligible, okay, very important, for PUI or PUA, so pandemic unemployment income or pandemic unemployment assistance. Number one, of course, individuals who are currently employed. If you're working, you can't file for PUA, even if let's say your child is out of school, right? And let's say you have a nanny, or let's say you have a parent, a grandparent is, because technically, for some wise guys out there, you can say, hey, I can file for PUA because my child is out of school. You can't because you're still employed. So come on, so it's very self-explanatory. But some people are going to be asking these questions based on my experience, and then I'm just going to tell them, no, you can't qualify because you're technically employed. And number two,
part-time. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Individuals who are partially employed but exceed the state weekly benefit. Okay, a lot of people have been asking me this. Some people say, oh my God, it's so unfair or whatever. But guess what? If the government will guarantee paying each and every person their weekly wage, this country is going to go bankrupt. I'm telling you right now. So let's say, for example, how do you calculate this? Let's say, for example, your regular income is $2,000 a week, for example. And then with the coronavirus, your income dropped 50%, and it's now $1,000 a week, okay? So applying the rules of New York, remember, the maximum state weekly benefit of New York is $504. So what is your reduced income? It's $1,000 from $2,000. Do you think you're qualified or not? That's right, you're not. Because you are still earning $1,000 and it exceeds $504 a week. All right. Now, the same situation, $2,000. And then let's say your income dropped to $400 a week. Okay. Do you think you will qualify? Exactly. Yes. Okay. But you're not going to get the $504. What's going to happen is the $504, they're going to deduct the $400. So what you're going to get is the $104 a week, okay? But remember, okay, and this is why a lot of people are saying it's unfair. Mm-hmm. Remember, there's the federal benefit of $600. And the federal government right now is paying that $600 regardless of what your income is. So even if you're just earning $104 on the state component part, the government is going to give you that extra $600 nevertheless, because you are under your state's unemployment income, okay? So that's a very significant thing. So that's why a lot of people are saying, hey, it's unfair. Or let's say in other states, Florida only gives $275 a week. New York is getting $504 a week. Well, guess what? That's what your individual states' regulations are. If you need to vote somebody else, to raise that unemployment, you guys better do it. But unfortunately, that's what individual states have, So not every state have the same benefit. Okay. Oh, wow. Number two, let's say, for example, right now, and this applies for self-employed individuals, or let's say per diem individuals. Let's say you work for a company, and then right now your hours are being cut, okay? And then they give, because I've been hearing a lot of people are getting this. So let's say they have decreased hours or they're staggering their hours. They're going to tell their employees, hey, you know what? If you still want to maintain your monthly or paycheck income, not quarterly, weekly or biweekly,
40-hour week,
you could use your pay time off, either your vacation days or sick days and everything to supplement that income, right? So guess what? If you are not working, but you are still receiving these, the paid time off, vacation, and everything, guess what? You will not qualify. Let's say, for example, you get laid off, and then your company's generous enough to give you like what is it, something to get by for a week,
Rinse
pay or something like that. Guess what? Unless that income passes, like let's say they gave you, we're going to give you like for the next 4 weeks, we're going to give you $500 a week. Okay. And as long as you're still receiving that $500 a week, you will not get the benefit unless it's New York. So remember, New York is $504. Guess what? You're going to get the $4, but because of the $600, you get $604. It's that plain and simple. All right. And lastly, very important too for a lot of people. Okay. Let's say you are under a family or medical leave. Okay. And you're not getting paid. Guess what? You are not going to qualify for either the PUI, because you are still considered employed. Why? Because if you're under medical leave, your health insurance still continues with the company. Okay. Now, it is kind of like a gray area with the pandemic unemployment assistance. In this situation, maybe or maybe not. Let's say, for example, you got sick and you're under medical leave. So does it disqualify you? So this is the gray area, and this is something that you have to ask your individual Department of Labor guidelines and states Department of Labor guidelines, and pretty much go from there. Okay, but it's not closing the door for people who are on medical leave because you got sick of the COVID-19. Okay, and of course the most obvious thing, if you got fired, you got terminated. You can't get those because you're terminated. Remember, it is of no fault of your own. Remember the first ones that I've said when you file for unemployment, it's not no fault of your own, and you are able and willing to work. These are the requirements of unemployment. All right, so my God, 1 hour questions and answers. So anyone who has a question, so I think. Mike, you should be the one asking. And
all right. Well, first of all,
from there. Okay. All right.
I really appreciate you.
Oh my God, 12 questions
and everything, man. So if you really, first of all, I just would like to let you know, Emmanuel, your energy and your enthusiasm is just so awesome. So if you feel like his energy is really good, please comment there. Please comment whatever you want to comment on Eman there. I'm going to comment awesome job there, Eman.
Okay. All right. As long as I can, whatever we can do as much as we can to help each other, we'll do that.
All right. Please comment there because he did a good job for me. So let's go ahead and start with the
So let's go for the first question all the way up.
First question here is if your work schedule is Monday to Friday and they will ask you to work on a Saturday or a Sunday for a makeup, can you decline that? It won't have negative impact on your unemployment benefits?
Very good question. Okay, so again, you when it comes to unemployment, remember you are certifying that you cannot find work. Remember that. You are certifying that you cannot find work. Now, they're actually requesting you to come on a weekend, right? And let's say, for example, you're earning $50 an hour, you work for 10 hours, it's $500 already. So let's say, again, New York, $504. I mean, that one you could probably still make it. But on the other hand, if you decline that invitation, from your employer, and you're still receiving unemployment benefits, guess what? At the end of the period, whatever. I mean, it may happen like in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. The Department of Labor will call your employer and they're going to ask them, hey, why was this guy laid off? Or why wasn't this person unemployed? And if your employer says, hey, you know what? We've been giving him the hours. We were encouraging him to work on Saturday or Sunday, but he declined. Guess what? You're going to be penalized for that.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying you got to be honest. You can't have a go around on these things. The reason why it's pandemic unemployment assistance or pandemic unemployment income, word unemployment, you're unemployed. if you can get yourself to work, you have to work, unfortunately. But if you can't work, let's say you really can't find a job, like let's say you're a per diem therapist and you used to work for like nursing homes like me, like before, like getting it left and right, and all of a sudden they shut it down. There's nothing you can do. It's of no fault of your own. And that is a good reason for you to file for unemployment. I hope that answered your question.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. Next question is from Jennifer. Jennifer said, I worked part of 2019 in New Mexico and started working in California in June 2019. I faxed my application, but have not received anything from the state. Do you know how they handle this if you work 2 states in a year?
Okay, so remember there's a minimum amount of base periods. Okay, usually the minimum is 2 base periods or 6 months. So you mentioned June, right? So if you were June, is that right? June, and then so January to June, that would have been 2 months or two quarters already. So if that was in California, then your application should be in California.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Eman. And another anonymous question: am I qualified to file for unemployment assistance if my hours was cut in half due to this pandemic? A lot of questions are like that. So
yes. Okay. So again, it's all about your state's maximum weekly income. Okay. Say in Florida, it's $275. Even if you got your salary cut by 50%, but if it's still over $275, unfortunately, you can't.
That's right. That's right.
I'm sorry.
I think we already answered this. Joe said here, when you said able to work and be available, does that mean any kind of work? That's a great question there.
You know what? To be honest with you, any kind of work applies, but you have to realize you try to limit the like, for example, right now you're out of work, right? I'm not saying this is a go around or everything, right? You're a physical therapist, you're an occupational therapist, you're a speech therapist. Of course, you try to find a job that's within your field. That is the requirement, okay? But let's say, for example, you're unemployed for the next, let's say the last 26 weeks, okay? That's like how many months? 6 months, right? Let's say 6 months, you haven't found work, right? And you're certifying every week, I can't find work if I can't find work. There is a potential, if you get that call from the labor department, have you tried looking for other jobs, When they ask you that, then that is the time that you got to look for something else, But at this point in time, you stick to what your job is right now, which is a therapist, and to be honest with you, I really don't know how they're going to apply all of these work requirements that they require. Like, let's say you go for a career seminar. I mean, no one's doing a seminar right now, so because everything's shut down. So right now, if you're under unemployment, let's say, for example, and then you're a speech therapist or a physical therapist, you're just doing what you can to get by. And, whether you choose to stay because you're scared of the coronavirus, pretty much my suggestion, I mean, again, it's my opinion, rather, not my suggestion, my opinion, just stick to what your job is for now, okay? But if you have been under unemployment for quite some time, like probably even as long as 3 months only or 6 months only, then you would have to consider finding another job, because right now, Amazon is looking for, Walmart is looking for 100,000 employees to, man their warehouses. Amazon is the same thing. So technically you could have applied for that.
You go.
But in this situation, I'd rather have you stick to what your job is. If it's reasonable for you to certify weekly, but let's say you can't find a therapy job, and the labor department is not going to be like so strict and everything. Just as long as you're.
How can they monitor all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't. But it's no. Again, remember, 22 million people filed for unemployment for the past 4 weeks. There is no way the government has that manpower to call each and every 22 million to like, hey, are you looking for work or whatever? If you know what I mean. But again, it's my opinion. I'm not in any way again encouraging you to do this or that. It's your decision, But my recommendation is you just have to be honest with yourself. That's it, So not to get into trouble. All right. Don't game the system, That's it.
Well, I'm just going to do a shameless plug. We got lots of coaches and moderators in our group, Alternative Careers Group. So just reach out to them. There are a lot of alternative ways for you to be able to at least, quote unquote, earn money online and do this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the reason why we are actually, we have this big group of Alternative Careers Group wherein we find ways for you to earn money extra. And it could be a full-time gig too. So reach out to our coaches, to our moderators. We've got so much people who are actually winning in this time of situation, even though we have this pandemic. So thank you, Eman. All right. Okay. Let's go back to our question. You still got time, Eman?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll give you as much time as I can, So I know a lot of people have all these questions.
So I can go leave and then you answer all of them? No, just kidding.
No. You got to stay here. You're the man. You're the captain.
All right. So there's another question here. Can you file both for PUI and PUA? I'm going to answer that. I think I know the answer.
Okay.
So if you are in California, Pennsylvania, and some other states, you need to file for your PUI before you could file for your PUA first. So I guess that answers the question. Let me dismiss that question.
And just to add that, remember, that's why we went through the process, right? What is the difference of PUI and PUA, right? So you have to determine first which applies for you, if either it's PUI or PUA. Because if you determine, let's say you're in New York and there is now a separate application for PUA, then go ahead for PUA. Because if you file for PUI, you're going to be denied. And that just, delays the benefits that you otherwise should be getting, if you know what I mean?
So do I have to wait for that denial letter before I could file for that PUA?
I think so, yes. On any states aside from California, New York, or Pennsylvania. But I don't know, probably starting Monday, probably a lot of other states are going to go in line with their separate PUA application. So you just have to check your individual labor department's website and everything. And if they have guidelines for that, then just go ahead with that.
Okay. All right. Next question again from Joe. What's going on, Joe? I have a business on the side, and how does my income there affect my unemployment benefits?
Okay. Obviously, if you have business on the side, you're reporting that as a Schedule C. Unfortunately, that is considered income.
Yep. So
you know what? There's another question. Wait, I remember this. Okay. Let's say I got a call last night, and they were asking. Some of us therapists, they have investments, right? You're in stocks, you have a savings account, you have interest, you're earning dividends from these stocks. Are those, technically those are income, right? But are those considered income for you to be disqualified with unemployment? The answer actually is no, because remember, unemployment income is payroll income. It's, you're working, Dividends, interest, these are investment income. So they're not considered. So, you know what? Again, I don't mean to judge anyone. So let's say you have $1 million, you're earning $100,000 a year with the dividends and everything. Technically, you can qualify. To be honest with you, you can qualify for unemployment if you can't work. But you know what? Again, it's your judgment. It's your thing. If you need the money still, then go file for PUA or PUI. But let's say, for example, that you're earning money already, and you're still unable to work, and you can live with that dividend income or investment income, then don't file. But it's all up to you. I'm not saying you're bad or no good or you're good or you're okay. It's all up to you. Again, I'm not judging anyone and everything. It's all up to you. It's whatever your priorities are, that kind of stuff.
Well, here's my recommendation for those people who are actually have money coming in from dividends and investment. You can send it to me through my PayPal.
And probably to me too.
So, I don't mind. I can get the POA and PUI. So
exactly.
My PayPal. Yeah. My PayPal is my email.
By the way, wait, just a minute. I'm sorry, Mike. There's another one. Okay. I'm sure some of you have rental income. Let's say properties, right? Okay. Will that qualify? There's another question for me. Okay. So with that kind of situation. Now with rental income, it depends. It depends. You know why? One reason. If you have a rental income for investment, and let's say you hired a managing firm, to pretty much manage your, you're paying them a set fee. Mm-hmm. You're getting whatever rental income, deducting all those managing fees, everything.
Property management.
It's like an investment income. Okay, so that particular rental income is exempted from the POI and the PA. So you could file for POI and POA. However, if that rental income, you are pretty much giving a significant amount of time, meaning let's say you put that rental income in your Schedule C and you're doing deductions like, oh, I'm doing my, whatever deductions you have as far as business is concerned. It means you are directly involved with that rental property. Like, let's say you do the cleaning or you give a salary for yourself out of that business, then that would be considered
employment income. Yep.
So for you to be safe, if you have rental income, if you are managing that by yourself, more than likely you will not qualify because you are getting yourself paid from that.
That's true.
You are directly involved with that. Let's say if you have a managing firm that manages your rental property, and then they just give you whatever proceeds, then that is considered investment income, which is exempted from POA or POI.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that was one question from last night. So I had to kind of figure. But here in New York, you know what? It's kind of gray area because I think when you apply for unemployment income, they ask if you have rental income. So, I mean, I don't know. So for me, again, that's why it's a gray area. It's a 50-50. But you are probably more on the safe side if you have someone managing your rental properties for you. So that is considered investment income.
Again, for those people who have rental incomes, you can send it to my PayPal. All right. There's a great question here from Hannah. Could you answer that for us, Eman? What's the impact of filing unemployment if you're an immigrant planning to file for a U.S. citizenship?
Okay. So remember, unemployment is funded by the employer. Okay. It is not a government grant. It is not, so it is exempt from, don't quote me on this. This is from my understanding. You should ask a lawyer whenever you have all these immigration questions and everything. But if you are filing for unemployment, and let's say you're a green card and you're wondering, is it going to affect, if I apply for citizenship, that kind of stuff, would it be considered, what do you call this? The
burden or something like that.
There's a
economic burden or
there's a term for that, So no, you won't, because this is not paid by the government. Okay, but there is a consideration with the PUA because that is federally funded. Okay? So that's why you have to ask your lawyer if you can qualify or not. But I think if you go to the immigration website, the USCIS website, there is a notation there that if you've been impacted by COVID and you need to apply for, let's say, unemployment or other services, they
doesn't count towards you
there that whatever your immigration status is, if you need to apply, you need to do what you got to do. You do it. They are not encouraging you not to file because that is the worst thing that you'll be doing. Basically what they're doing is if you need to apply, if you're unemployed, you need to apply, just file now. And then whatever the consequence, they're just going to deal with it later. So just to summarize it, if you know what I mean? So again, there's uncertainty, but if I were in your situation, I would prioritize what I need now. Okay?
Yep.
And if you need unemployment income, by all means, go for it. I'd rather have you that unemployment income than, basically, get thrown off and live off the streets or you don't have
that's right.
to pay for rent or worse, money to pay for food, that kind of stuff. So my suggestion, go for it. Go prioritize what you need now, consult your lawyer, and then deal with it, when this is all over, because right now it's an extraordinary thing. And not a lot of people are, right now in Medicare, they're all waiving all these things. What do you think? If we were living in regular times, all of these hospitals would have been would have had their JCO commissions have revoked because of all these violations. If you know what I mean. So
That's true.
yeah, that's the thing.
Thank you for that.
And good luck for that.
Full of knowledge. Oh gosh, and your energy, amazing. All right, are you still good?
Yeah. So good.
All right. So there's another question here. What if our hours reduced due to low census and no admission? Yeah. That's a general question there. Can you see those questions, Eman?
Yeah, I'm actually. Who did it come from?
From anonymous attendee. It says here, what if the hours are reduced due to low census or no admission? So I guess it goes back to how much money you're earning again, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So let me.
So it depends. If you exceed the rule is if you exceed the weekly benefit of your state, unfortunately, you will not qualify.
Mm-hmm. So there's another question here. What if I filed late? Can I still file for weeks that I missed?
No. That is the reason why. If you feel that, let's say, for example, today you were working and then your employer says, you know what, I can't guarantee you can't have work tomorrow or this week, then my suggestion, file right away.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
You're in the system, they're processing it. If you wait a week, 2 weeks, guess what? You're not going to get those 2 weeks back. They do not pay retroactively, unfortunately.
Perfect. Yeah. Next question. If you're not qualified for the state PUI or denied because you're still earning above $500 limit, can you still get the federal assistance?
No.
Nope.
It has to. That's why it's unfair. Remember, I said it was unfair because if you let's say for New York, you earn $510 a week, and that's only $6, so you get denied, right? But let's say you get $500 a week, so you get that $4. If you're under that thing, you still get the $600. So you get $600.
If you go 5, let's just say 5'11", you get
denied.
One.
You get denied.
How about my case? I got my Medicare reimbursement check last week.
I'm sorry, that is considered income.
All right, so I got it for like $900.
I'm sorry, you can't.
So, but that's for 2 weeks. So
nope, it depends on the date. Remember, the weekly income depends on what week. Mm-hmm. Say, for example, for New York, it differs, by the way. Some the week is Monday to Saturday. Some weeks are Sunday to Saturday. Again, you have to check your individual state's regulation. Mm-hmm. But whatever income you get within that week, even if it's like $900, if it's $900, and let's say you're what state do you live in, by the way?
I'm in Tennessee.
Also, let's say I don't know about Tennessee. Let's say Tennessee has a $400 weekly benefit. You exceeded that benefit, so you can't file.
Okay, you heard that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't qualify. So if you have your dividend, your investment income, my PayPal is my email.
And so am I. I'm gonna put it right there.
And I'll declare it in my tax.
Oh my God, this is great.
All right. Okay. So next question.
Any other questions here?
If your rehab facility turned into a COVID-19 building only, but did not lay you off, and you got a doctor note due to medical reason, like anxiety, suffer, panic attacks, insomnia to treat COVID-19, can I apply for a PUI or PUA?
You technically can apply for a PUA. As your doctor certified it. It would help, to be honest with you, if your doctor stated, because you have a prior diagnosis of anxiety or depression, and it's pretty much kind of like making it worse for you, or it's making the condition worse. And if your doctor can certify that you are in no way able to work because of this anxiety or whatever, then that is a possible eligibility for PUA. As long as it's related to COVID-19 and it affects your job, you can get qualified.
Perfect. Because we've got all this, therapists. Yes, we are therapists. We're all equipped. Right. But, anxiety, panic attack are real. And we've got all this colleagues who are experiencing it.
But you have to understand too, to be honest with you, it is a tough job, right? Mm-hmm. On this situation right now. But you have to understand, again, this is by no means judging you or, prejudicial, whatever. It's not even that. But you also have to understand, if, for example, everyone, goes into that route, and everyone just stops working. So who's going to take care of our patients? Who's going to take care of the ones in the nursing homes or whatever? I mean, it's more of like an ethical thing. But again, not to judge you whether it's good or bad. My recommendation is you all, at this point, you think about yourself and what is your priority. If you prioritize your health, you prioritize your family, you know what? Don't go to work. If you have the passion to go to work, you know, to help out and everything, by all means, go. But again, it is in no means like, again, judging what your character is or whatever. It's what your need is. And with the PUA, if the program is there, that they're going to give you some money because you are unemployed by COVID, and that's pretty much it, you know?
Perfect. All right. And like what Emmanuel was talking about earlier, you got to take care of yourself first. You know, you cannot give what you do not have. You know, we're called caregivers. You know, we're giving care. Right. How can you give care if you can't take care of yourself? So, you know, whoever wrote that, I forgot already. I think it's Deborah. Take care of yourself first in order for you to be able to take care of your other people. So remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. You got to take care of yourself first. All right. There's an awesome question here by OTA from New Jersey. He said, I got sick before this whole pandemic. So they gave me 2 weeks off because they did not want me in there to be sick. Then I was able to work. They told me I could not come back because there aren't enough patients. So they told me to stay home. Now, 2 days ago, they asked me to come back to work. However, I do not want to go back because first, number one, I have a child who is unable to go to school. Second, the nursing home is already dealing with COVID. Just to clarify, I would apply for PUA, correct?
That is correct. You can file for PUA.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Next question is, if you have a full-time job and an S corp as a supplemental income, but because of the pandemic, you are losing your supplemental income and you are not getting full hours on your full-time, what can you apply or qualify?
Okay, this is another common question. You know, apparently a lot of us therapists doesn't just have one job. We have several jobs. One, and to make matters a little bit complicated, one job is a full-time W-2, and then the supplemental is a 1099.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, again, it doesn't really matter as far as what your situation is. Remember the one I told you about as far as total income, $2,000, it became $1,000. You lost 50%. Again, you won't qualify if the maximum weekly income that the state gives is only $500. So that pretty much kind of like answers the same question. Let's say you got laid off from your W-2, right? But you still have that 1099 income coming in. So technically, from the standpoint of the layoff from the W-2, you could have qualified for the PUI, but because you are still working on that 1099, you can't, because the income from that 1099, you know, matches the weekly benefit that your state gives. Or if you're lucky, if it's still less than, let's say, for example, again, in New York, let's say your weekly income from the Saturday job is like $250, then of course you can qualify because the maximum is $504.
There you go. There you go.
But again, from the standpoint of this program, it's for unemployment, okay? PUA gives a certain benefit for partial employment. But again, it all follows the same state requirements, as well as the maximum weekly pay that they get.
Perfect. All right. Okay. You're still good, man? What's your time frame?
No, I'm good. I'm just here at home, you know. So
okay.
My wife and daughter, they're watching a Disney movie. So
we're homebound anyway, right?
Yeah. So I have nothing to do. I mean, I might as well just hang out with you guys and go from there.
All right, there you go. Okay. If next question from Anonymous here: if you have a full-time job and an S corp as a supplemental,
that's the question, right?
Yeah, no, that's the question. Let me delete that. And I file for an unemployment if I'm placed for temporary layoff.
What do you mean a temporary? I don't understand.
Me too.
I don't understand. There's no such thing as a temporary layoff. That's a furlough. You consider that as a furlough, not a temporary. Because once you're laid off, you're laid off. That's it.
So maybe reduce hours. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, it's all about the amount of income that's still coming in.
Okay.
You have reduced hours, but those reduced hours are still above the weekly benefit that you guys are getting, unfortunately, you would not qualify.
Okay, cool. From Amir here, our nursing home facility is turning to be all COVID patients starting next week, and I'm high risk due to pre-existing condition, diabetes. Can I file for PUI for refusing to treat COVID?
Okay, so again, this is just a recommendation and everything. If you have a pre-existing condition, diabetes, hypertension, you have a history of asthma or whatever, those are things that, can complicate things if you get infected, unfortunately. It would be best to consult your doctor. And if your doctor gives you that note that, hey, because of the underlying pre-existing conditions, you are at risk or whatever for getting COVID, and you present that to your employer or your job and everything, regardless of what their decision is, if they say, oh, if you can't work, we're going to fire you or this or that or whatever, you are protected under the POA because there is a doctor's determination that you are at risk of COVID-19. So as I mentioned before, anything that has to do with COVID-19, and if you can prove that you will be out of work because of that, let's say if your child is out of school, or you have to take care of someone with COVID, or you got sick or whatever, it would be easier for your case if you have a doctor's note backing you up, because you can't just say that is actually a little bit on the not so good side. They're going to say, oh, I'm going to refuse going to work because I'm afraid. I mean, that's not, to be honest, that's not really a good enough reason. That's our job. We swore an oath to provide care regardless of what the environment is.
Yeah, it's a case-to-case basis.
It's a case-to-case basis. But again, whoever asked that question, and I'm saying, I'm not judging. It's not either good or bad. Whatever you think is good for you, you go for that. But again, to reiterate what I was saying, it would be best if you have like something of like a doctor's note to back you up. And if that doctor is willing to, give that note, then you're on the clear to file for a POA.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me dismiss that. There's a question here. I'm out of work for the last 3 weeks, but have not started application as online seems to crash. No red for that. I guess no. There's no red.
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that is the case for each and every state. To be honest with you, my suggestion, and this is something that I've read from other applicants who have been doing this, right now, it's in each and every state that they have done this, and as far as application is concerned. Usually what they do during the days of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they designate certain letters from your last names. Let's say A to M, that's for Monday, then N to whatever P, that's for Tuesday, and then R to Z, that's for Wednesday. So they give certain days. So again, you have to check your Labor Department website for those 3 days, and then apply on those applicable days that you have. Or after those days, go for the other dates like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever. But that's one suggestion. The other suggestion is go apply when there's less demand. So if you have to apply at 2 a.m, go ahead. If the website is up and running, that's my suggestion. Go for the times that you think it's not busy for the website. Because the website is all up and running. From my understanding, they're all up and running every time. Probably with all the applications, they probably have a downtime, like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. just to refresh the website or whatever. But if I were in that situation, I would be applying online on the times that you feel are less of a demand.
That's right.
That I could suggest. Yeah.
Thank you. There's another question here. If my caseload has reduced in the past 2 to 3 weeks by 75%, should I still apply to state and fed apps? I am still employed. And she said she loves your energy and your support. I'm going to answer that.
Sure. You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to answer that.
Again, it's all about the weekly. It's all about the weekly income. So
there you go.
You lose 75%. But if let's say you're earning $10,000, you're still earning $2,500 from that. Unfortunately, you can't.
Oh gosh.
That's kind of a salary, right? 10,000.
All right.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
$500,000.
There's a great question here. Is the PUA the same as the Families First Act?
No, that is okay. Here's the thing. Okay. When I was, in the website and the Facebook with AFAPT, initially when they released that, they were going into that route that all of those benefits were under the PUA. And it's only when April came that they kind of like define all these things. Okay. Now the Family First Act, just to make it simple for you guys to understand, so you don't kind of like venture with the PUA, okay? The Family First Act, it is actually applicable to employed individuals, okay? That's number one. Number two is it will only apply to companies that are 500 or less. Okay. Number three, unfortunately for us, we're in the healthcare field. If your employer kind of like files an exemption, you cannot basically, they cannot basically give you that family leave. Okay. So those are the scenarios. The reason why it's only for 500 or less is because the assumption of the government is for people, I mean, not people, but employers who have more than 500 employees. They have a system of like a paid family leave, or they have a medical leave in place where you can avail of. Now, let's say, for example, just a theoretical, let's say you work under an employer has less than 500 employees, and they got the exemption for them paying you the whatever you lost. Let's say you were out for 3 weeks because you were sick, or let's say your child was sick, or let's say your child was out of school, So what's going to happen is you could still basically qualify for that, but it will be in the form of a tax credit. Okay. So there is a formula. So if, let's say, you get sick, the maximum payout of the government would be $511 a day, up to 10 days, which is 5,110. Or if you have to take care of someone, or let's say your child is out of school, that kind of stuff, the maximum payout will be $200 a day, or $2,000. However, remember, that is the maximum. Okay, there's another caveat to that.
Can you spell caveat? Just kidding.
Is it with a K? No. So the caveat is this one. The government will only be paying you 67% of your daily rate, okay, up to a maximum of $511 for if you get sick, and $200 if you have to take care of someone, maximum $5,110, and maximum $2,000. And this will be in the form of a tax credit. For me, I would actually love that, because this is a dollar per dollar tax deduction. So let's say you're in 50.
Where do you get all this information, man?
Yeah, I know, right? I have nothing to do. That's why. I have nothing to do. So $50,000. Then let's say your federal. Again, it also applies to federal taxes. $50,000. Let's say you're under 20%. So that's $10,000. And then you got sick. Let's say you get the $5,110. Then you could actually deduct that from whatever taxes you paid, and you theoretically would get a $5,000 tax refund.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's a great question there. Whoever asked sent that question, I'm going to dismiss that.
So, but before there was kind of like confusion with it, because the eligibility requirements of the Family First Act was pretty much similar to the PUA. So a lot of people, including me, we were kind of like interchanging that. But once the Labor Department kind of like clarified these things, then they were actually separate. And they were only open to a certain group, which is less than 500, and those who are actually employed, not unemployed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm reading some of these questions here. Some are really personal, and I don't know if you want to answer this, man. All right. So, okay. If you have been decreased to working every other week, How do you find work for those weeks? If you are also going to school and needing to be online 5:40 to 9 o'clock, 2 nights a week, and can't work certain jobs. That's a personal question.
I know, but it has time management, to be honest with you. And at this point in time, unfortunately, you're in this situation, and then you had a decrease in hours, and of course, you have to go to school. Again, it's prioritizing your time. Unfortunately,
Here you go.
Don't worry, I was in that situation before, so just to encourage you're whatever you're experiencing. You're not alone. I experienced that before, and I'm sure you're going to get through with that as well. So.
Yeah. Here's a simple encouragement for everyone, guys. Everybody is encouraged. Everybody is in this situation right now. And I once saw this quote: either you are in a crisis, getting into a crisis, or getting out of a crisis. So we're, right now we are in a crisis. It's just a matter of how we are managing it, so
Correct.
Everybody's in a stress mode. So it's just a matter of handling the stress here. So just hold on there. When you're down, there's no way but up. And that's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we've got a good government right now who's actually taking care of us. It's not perfect, but it's there.
Yep, but at least it's there. Yes.
Yeah, at least it's there. So,
and my advice, if you can help, it actually makes you feel better. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you could contribute something, like there was one time, a family of ours needed some groceries, or a friend of ours. So we just do the grocery if we can, And to be honest with you, it's actually a good psych booster, because like with all the negativity and everything, one good thing, one good deed, it actually makes you better. I mean, that's from my experience. But
perfect. You know what? That's actually true. When you are in a situation that you cannot actually control, do something that you can control. What's the thing that you can control? Giving. The way you give. It's not how. It's not what you get. It's what you give. It's better to give than to receive. I'm not saying don't apply for unemployment, but right now, if you get blessed a little bit, if you're blessed, we're blessed right now. You're watching this video, you have Facebook, you've got internet. Go out there, try to encourage one person out there. So,
exactly.
Are you still good to answer some questions, Emmanuel?
If there are, that's fine.
We've got 13 more here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. What if you are working as a contractor and you were laid off by a client before the pandemic, and you have decided to terminate the contract because the agency can't find you a job? Are you still eligible for unemployment? And in addition to that, you moved to other state and having a hard time to find a job because of COVID. Her last day of work was like January 2020. She was per diem until March. So, I guess she originally worked in MA since her family's in California.
What's MA? Maine?
I don't know.
Or Massachusetts? No, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
I came from Boston and I can't even figure out MA, right?
So. You're asking an immigrant here.
Okay, so that's a very good question. Very good question. All right. So, so for the last year was on another state, and then January to the present is in another state, and a different state, right? So. Remember, if we go back to where we were discussing about the base periods, remember that? The last 2 quarters, the base period is the last 5 quarters, and you get the last 4. And the alternate base period is the last 4 from the quarter, right? So to answer your question first, whether you apply for POI or POA, you apply for POA because you're self-employed. Number 2 is you go look at those base periods, whether if your state accepts the alternate base period, or if the state doesn't accept, so that's the regular base period of 5. Remember that? Well, can we go through that screen so for you to understand? What happens basically is
it this one here?
No, it's there we go. This is the base period, right? So remember the 5, and then okay, while Mike goes through that. So for you to know what kind of state you have to look into, you have to look at the prior quarters where you were the most, okay? So since we are already in April, basing it on the regular base period, so October, November, July, August, April, May, January, February, you are pretty much on the other states, okay? So what that means is you will have to file the POA on that state and not on the current state. Those are the rules.
Okay.
Even if you're now living, let's say, in California, but the prior year you were living in New York, you will have to file the POA in New York. That's actually a very good question because not a lot of people know that.
You see?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what that is.
Because it follows the base period. That's the thing. That's why I emphasize the base period, because that is very important in the calculation of the weekly benefit. Let's say, for example, California. California is a very good weekly. I think it's like 540 or 570, something like that. I'm not sure, but it's more than 500. And let's say you go to Mississippi. Mississippi, guess what? It's like $225 a week. So you already lost out on that. But because your base period was in California, you could still benefit the California unemployment benefit. So, there's a lot of things, going on.
Okay.
That is concerned.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Eman. All right, let's go ahead and scroll to these questions. We got let's do 15 more minutes. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. She asked the question about FMLA and anxiety and depression. Is from having a chronic condition worsened by working now COVID only. Do I apply to temp disability and PUA, but not PUI? That's a great question.
Okay, so that's a good question. So remember, for you to be disqualified from the PUI, remember, it's unemployment. If you are under an FMLA, you are still considered employed. You are just on leave, but you're still considered employed, even if you're not getting any income. So if you applied and then the Labor Department determines that you're still on a kind of leave from your company, you will get denied, unfortunately. But the gray area is the POA, because technically, if you have something that's COVID related, you will be covered with the POA. But you're mentioning about depression and anxiety. That question, as I mentioned before on the two previous questions, if you have a doctor's note certifying that whatever you're experiencing right now is related to COVID-19, and if they could certify that, then you have a better chance of justifying, applying for POA. But again, that's one of the gray areas, because what complicates things, remember, it's both pandemic unemployment income or pandemic unemployment assistance. The concept is you are unemployed or underemployed based on, of course, in consideration to, the weekly benefit that the state is giving. Now, when it comes to that, it's kind of like a gray area. Like we say, oh, my depression or anxiety is getting worse. I have this chronic condition and everything. But unless you have something of an objective proof, like, coming from your doctor, certifying that, let's say, for example, you go to your doctor and say, hey, you know what? My recommendation, the doctor's recommendation is, if your anxiety is getting worse, you have to stop going to your job right now, temporarily. If they give that recommendation, that is enough reason for you to apply for a POA. But again, it's all about the doctor. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so but it would be better if you have that kind of documentation, medical documentation.
Okay. There's another question here. Are you a PT and a CPA? And are you single? Just kidding.
I told you. No, I'm not. I'm not an accountant. I'm a physical therapist. But these are things that I like to kind of study and everything. So we
gotta create a course for you, man.
I know, right? But accounting. I have my own accountant. I have him doing my taxes. But the way I do it, before I go to my accountant, I already know what's going on with my taxes. So I already know what my deductions are. I already know what tax I have to pay. Unfortunately, for the past how many years, I've never received an income a tax refund. I always paid. So the reason for that is, I pretty much know what's going on, but I still confer to an accountant to verify my calculations and all that stuff. If my deductions are. So I'm pretty much I mean, I'm adept to accounting, but I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm not licensed, but yeah, I pretty much know what's going on.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and go back to question. Michael's been asking this some question here. Michael Gardner, he said, my home health PRN has basically come to halt without any income. Working hospital PRN at 2 separate hospitals in which combined income exceeds state, but that does not individually.
Again, it's all about the income. It doesn't. I understand what you're saying, because what complicates things is you are looking at it in the perspective of one job, but the state looks at it at a perspective of your total income. So regardless if you have lost income on one job, but if you still combine that loss with the other one and it still exceeds the weekly state benefit, unfortunately, you can't file for unemployment.
Perfect. Some are, I'm assuming some are already answered. Okay. Oh, this is a great question here. An anonymous question. I was diagnosed with COVID-19 3 weeks ago, and now I'm back working. Can I still apply PUI or PUA?
No, you can't. But you could apply for the Family First Act. So if you got sick for 3 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. 3 weeks. And then what you should do now, secure all those documentation from the doctor, whatever, that you were diagnosed with COVID. Calculate at the end of the year, you calculate your daily, your daily wage, okay? And then once you calculate your daily wage, you get 2/3 of that, okay? Whatever the result, up to $511, you will be compensated up to $5,110 as a form of a tax credit. So you will not get the cash now. You will get the cash later on as a tax refund.
Okay.
Already starting working. So that's what I'm saying. The Family First Act, it applies for people who are still working, people working for organizations under 500. And if you're working in a healthcare field, that employer can deny you the benefit if they're giving you the family leave or the medical leave, but you can still get compensated through a tax credit with that thing. So it's get the daily wage, compute 2/3 of it. Maximum that you can get is $511 a day, or $5,110 for the period of time that you got sick.
Okay, cool. What if you're furlough and no income is coming in, but then you still have health benefits only? Are you still eligible for unemployment?
Again, that's the gray area. You cannot qualify per PUI because you're technically still employed because of that leave and you're still getting the health benefits. But the gray area is you can apply for the PUA. So my suggestion, apply if you have the state, New York, California, and Pennsylvania, that has a separate PUA application, go apply for the PUA application now. Or if you don't have that yet, apply for the PUI, get that application denied, so you get redirected to apply for the PUA. There's no in applying.
There's a follow-up question here with combined income. When I applied, it only inquired about my income, not total income, because my husband is still working. Does that matter? Is it combined?
No, it's only in a personal basis.
Personal, individual.
It's not household income. It's your income. So they don't care what let's say if your spouse or significant other, your partner is earning, they don't care about that. They only care about yourself. If you're not working, and if you were working before and you're unemployed, you can file for unemployment. So it has nothing to do with household income. It's with your personal income.
Okay. Can I file for unemployment if I'm furloughed?
Yes, you can. As long as, again, you're not getting any other income, or if you're still getting some income, it doesn't exceed the weekly state benefit.
Okay. Well, I guess it all bottoms down to that weekly.
So you have to go to your Department of Labor's website. The first thing you check is really what their maximum payout is, and that will be your reference.
Perfect. All right. I know we've got that 15-minute mark. Let's add one more question. I know you're tired, Eman. If you resign
Whatever I
from your
can.
job due to anxiety and childcare issue, can you apply for PUA?
Technically, yes. Yes. Because it doesn't have to do with the anxiety. But if there is a childcare issue, that is because the schools are out. You can't find a what is this a babysitter or a caregiver, whatever. That will fall under the guidelines of PUA. So,
Right.
as I said before, for PUI, it would have kind of like this. No, not PUI. Regular unemployment income. It would have disqualified you because you resigned. But with PUI and PUA, you can qualify. But in this situation, it's not because you had COVID-19 directly, but it's because of more of a dependent issue that you have to take care of, and that will pretty much apply to PUA.
Cool. I'm looking at my Facebook right now, and there's some questions here too, and it's a great question. I'm a PT and I've applied for unemployment. One of my questions was, how many days are you working? I'm only doing telehealth through my job, and I only see one at a time. What should I declare as per day? What if I'm seeing one patient a day? I guess it all boils
depends
down
on
to
the number of days. Remember, for PUI and PUA, if you are doing telehealth jobs, that is not a qualifier. You will be disqualified, even if it's telehealth. And if let's say you're doing one telehealth job a day, and you did it for let's say 3 patients, you did it for 3 days, then in your application, you would have to you would have to put in there 3 days. So again, if your telehealth income exceeded the maximum weekly benefit of the state, unfortunately, you can't qualify.
Okay. It says here, one other question here. If you are working as a PRN for different agencies, not getting any work, do you have to inform or notify agencies prior to filing?
It will help. It will help that you're filing for unemployment, but it's really irrelevant, to be honest with you, because the agencies don't pay for unemployment insurance. If you're PRN, it's very rare for agencies to pay for it, but I have heard some do pay. So my suggestion is first go check your paycheck. Check if there is unemployment insurance under your deductions and everything. And if they do, then more than likely you have to inform them that, hey, I'm filing for unemployment because I don't have work. And that's a legitimate reason.
I guess that's it. There's so much. There's so much questions there. But all right, if you
But I hope everything is kind of clarified, right? I hope everything is on the clear. So
are you comfortable me sharing your PowerPoint in the group?
Yeah, by all means, by all means. The only thing is, there's no explanation. It's just a PowerPoint, but all right, information is there. By all means.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much, Emma, and I really appreciate you for doing this.
No problem.
I know we went over time, and a lot of people are watching. Again, if you appreciated, let's give some round of applause for Emma. If you don't mind typing in, a good job there on the chat box. I think he really did a good job, and it just only clarified that for those people who are really wanting to apply, go ahead and apply.
And don't be shy. I mean, this is the reason why they gave it to you. Not gave it to you, gave it to us.
There you go. I see all this comment. There you go.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're watching.
Thank you for participating as well.
There you go. Again, thank you very much, Emma. Thank you very much for those people who are watching. But before I let you go, where can we reach you, Emma? Can we reach you to your on your Facebook page?
You could reach me on on my Facebook. You could give me a message, an IM or whatever. Unfortunately, when this happened, I've been getting. I really don't mind, to be honest. I've been getting a lot of questions from to be honest with you, people I really don't know, but they were just, and I don't mind answering it, but of course there would be times, you wouldn't get an answer right away, I'm sleeping, I'm doing something, I really can't do it. But when I get the time and then I read through it, I do it, of course, in a first come, first serve basis. And usually I try to finish one person first, because there's so many follow-up questions. And don't worry if you're on the queue, I'll get to you. But
And I'll also send you the recording for this, Eman. I'll send you a private link, and then you can share that link
sure.
to those people who wants to listen and watch, and that way you can also share it to your friends and everybody. It's actually streamed inside our private group, the Alternative Careers for Rehab Professional. But I'll send you a private link, and that way you can also share it to some of your friends or people who are asking you directly. So any last parting wisdom for us, Eman, before I let you go? I know you're
all right. So again, we're all in this together. Whatever you're going through right now, you're not the only one. Everyone is, some way or another, they're feeling the pain and everything. Me, I really want to get out of the house. Sometimes I'm trying to get to work on the lawn, that kind of stuff. But whatever problems you have, there will always be a solution to it. It's just not, it will be solved right away, but there will be a solution. So, and if you need help, don't be ashamed of asking for help, even if it takes for you to apply for unemployment. There's nothing to be ashamed of that. This is the reason why the government is giving that, because they don't want anyone to fall behind with this, this pandemic. And then hopefully, I pray everything would just go away and go back to normal, just like whatever everyone is saying. But don't feel alone. You always have someone in your back, even if you don't know them. There's someone praying for you. Whatever you're going through, and we're all in this together.
All right, I love that. We're all in this together. But before I let you go, always remember the word FAST, ladies and gentlemen. FAST, letter F. Find friends that will push you to your next level. I don't know. I haven't met Emma personally, but I just felt her energy and everything in that group that we have, the Academy of Filipino Physical Therapists. And I said, well, guess what? I'm just going to connect with this awesome person. So find friends that will push you to your next level, because you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So whoever you hang out with, guess what? You're going to be that. Next letter A, you got to learn how to take action. Ammon has already gave you all these steps, all this stuff that we're supposed to go to. Take action, guys. It's never too late to take action. If you need to do it today, go ahead and do it today. So just take action. Imperfect action beats perfect in action. Next letter is letter S. You got to learn how to shoot for the moon. Why? Because if you keep shooting for the moon, you're going to miss it, but you're going to be eventually landing with the stars. I'm landing with the star right now through Emmanuel Canlas. He's a star right now. And last but not the least,
too.
Last but not the least, guys, letter T. You gotta learn how to teach it. Why? Because when you hear it, you forget. When you see it, you remember. But when you're actually teaching it, you're actually understanding it more. And that's what Emman is doing. He's teaching us how to do this. So, again, thank you very much, Emman. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. And, I know we didn't charge anything for this, but thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Those people who are watching, thank you very much. I hope you learned something. I learned a lot today. So thank you, Emma. I appreciate you. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, be awesome, be great, be excellent. And we will see you around. Thank you, brother.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out our website at drmikechua.com or alternativehealthcarecareers.com for more information. Again, ACG, be awesome, be great, be excellent. Thank you, and hope to see you on our next episode. Goodbye.